For some reason, I bought this abandoned Volkswagen Fox that had been sat on a farm for almost 2 years. It had no coolant, the brake pedal went to the floor, and I wanted it. I put a new battery on the car, and to my surprise, it fired right up.
Oh, like a glove.
I topped the coolant up and even bled the brakes there on the muddy farm floor. I managed to get some brake feel, so I carefully drove it back to my unit. I noticed a red battery light illuminated on the dash, so I immediately did a quick voltage test, and it turned out the alternator wasn't charging. I priced a new alternator at around £160, but there is an option to get them rebuilt, which is usually cheaper, so that is what we're going to do. Luckily, the 1.2 3-cylinder in this Fox is one of the easiest engines to work on. So we simply locate the tensioner, get a spanner on there to release the tension on the belt and remove the belt so we have access to all the ancillaries. The tensioner is in the way of the alternator, so I remove that first. Luckily we're replacing this anyway for peace of mind. There's the broken alternator. These are always on tight, so I gently pried it off after removing the bolts, and that's the alternator removed. We've got the alternator back from Carl's Starters and Alternators. Again, I want to say a massive shout out to Carl. I don't even think he knows that we do these videos, so this must just be how he treats all of his customers. But Georgia dropped it up to him on her lunch break, and I kid you not, was it within the... You're doing the alternator now? Oh, wow. Okay, so
I know why you made me do it now.
I know.
That's so fiddly.
Yes, there we go. So on the last video I said I was going to use the excuse that Georgia can learn, and she is learning. I didn't realise you'd get it back on that quick. But there's the alternator. Fully tested by Carl at Carl Starters and Alternators. I should have memorised this. What was the issue with it?
So the issue was there was no circuit between the slip rings and the regulator. Those slip rings.
Oh, I know. Nightmare, and Georgia did say that.
Honestly. But, sorry, I dropped it off on my lunch break. I think I dropped it off at like 12 o'clock. And by 1:45, he was texting me saying that it was ready to pick up. And
it was a grand total of?
£38. And it has fixed the issue, so...
And he does warrant his work as well, and I priced up a new one. It was about £160 for like a Lucas one, for a decent one. So, if it all works, then hats off to the guy, but we won't say that just yet, because Carl, we haven't started yet. But no, he's worked on, he's done some bits for us in the past, and very, very confident in that, and if it's saved us that much money, I mean, that's the whole point of this build, isn't it, really? So, build. The rest of the things we need to do today, we've got the elusive drop link that's just completely missing off the one side. That, do you want to open that? That should be tensioner, or? Yeah, tensioner, and then we've even got a water pump. Oh yeah, I want to say thank you to everyone. The response we had from the previous video, I thought it was just a little Fox. I thought people were going to be like, meh, but it seems like the vast majority of you want us to keep it, rather than do stupid things with it and take it on like journeys, fix it up. And I got to be fair, we've kind of fallen in love with it as we do. Kenny mocks us all the time for... I love little nuggets like this, and there's something about bringing them back to life that just gives me immense satisfaction. So thank you all for the support. And we've already got big plans. We've gone way over our budget. It was going to be a budget thing, but because we're planning on keeping it, I think we want to just...
Yeah.
And we've got some cool things for like the first main drive, some mad road trips, but I want to get confidence in it first, which is why we're doing all of the like preventative maintenance. And while the belt is off, obviously the tension has had to come off to get the alternator off, so we're going to do the water pump back there as well, which George has never done before. And of course a new belt. And more interestingly, oh yeah, I didn't really explain on the last one, that there are the coolant hoses that are looped off, and if you look just behind, I don't know if I can get you in there, that's where your heater matrix is. So you imagine a little radiator that your coolant flows through. As the coolant gets hot, the fans blow through that radiator into the cabin, and that's how you get heat. So the reason we're not getting heat is because someone's blocked that off. To me, there's only one reason you block those hoses off. That's because your heater matrix is leaking. It's an absolute pig of a job. If it's leaking, you've got to take the dash out. So I've got about this much hope that we can just fix it and put it back together, which is why I ordered that second-hand one, because I needed that extra piece. So... if that doesn't work for now, until I can be bothered to rip the dash off, I've actually bought one of these. I have no idea what it's going to be like. Probably useless, let's be fair. But the one I'm more interested in, again in the previous video, this had no coolant in it, and I was petrifying driving, not knowing the temperature, because this hasn't got... I've got loads of old cars that got temperature gauges, and even Kenny's VXR, a performance car, hasn't got a temperature gauge, so I've bought one of these cheap and cheerful like OBD2 reader things. So again, you can come along with us, we'll plug this in. I'm hoping this will just at least give us coolant temperature. There's a couple of other funky things it does as well. And if you're joining us for the first time as well, I've actually got a draggy, which means it accurately measures 0 to 60 times using GPS. So yes, we are going to, once it's up and running and we're confident, we're going to get a 0 to 60 test and see how close we can get to the original. I'm sure the original is like 16, 17 seconds.
It's still faster than the Civic.
That's probably the fastest car I've owned still. So what we're going to do is dive into this now. I think it's going to be water pump, because you've never touched a water pump, have you?
I've taken the one off the Celica, but
oh, yeah.
the engine was out.
I keep forgetting it. I can't even like mock you because you've done more stuff than me. But yeah, we're going to do basically all the ancillaries and gas stick, and then the main thing is start. I really hope, I'm confident, but if it's charging, I mean, we can get it, it's ready for MOT then, because the premise of this video is getting it ready for MOT.
Yeah.
Whew, so fingers crossed, let's get stuck in. With the tensioner and belt off, we moved on to the water pump. We wanted a good quality water pump because that's one part you do not want failing. The bolts holding the pulley on are a bit of a pain because they move with the pulley as we tried to undo them, but we got there and the pulley was removed. Now, I'll admit, I almost forgot the coolant would spill everywhere when the water pump was removed, so luckily Georgia remembered to jack the car up and put a bucket underneath. All was going well until we discovered one of the water pump bolts was rounded and the thread on another one didn't look too great. We pulled the water pump off and guess what? Coolant went everywhere. I did notice that the water pump we removed had plastic fins, whereas the new one had metal fins. We need to get the new bolts for the water pump, so for now I moved on to the drop link. Someone's clearly been here before but couldn't be bothered removing the rest of the ball joint, and I don't blame them. I hate doing drop links. I had to resort to grinding the thing off. Luckily, installing drop links is a million times easier than removing them. Simply tighten the nut on each end. In order to modernise the Fox, I installed some LED side light bulbs. They're actually white, but the camera's making them look blue for some reason. And even more exciting, I fitted some Osram Nightbringer headlight bulbs. I think it looks so much more fresh. Bolts have now been acquired, as you can probably hear jingle jangling. There was an issue with the car that I didn't mention in the first video, purely because I didn't want this information out there. But when we first got it, this key would start the car fine, but would not lock or unlock the car. So we bought a car that we couldn't lock. So, like I said, I didn't want to put that out in the previous video, just in case someone wanted to get their hands on this beautiful piece of machinery. But the good thing is, on eBay, this is incredible. So I bought 2 door locks. It was a pack of 2 for £10.70. And they work. Okay, we've got a different key for the doors than we have in the ignition. Really doesn't bother me. One day, if it does bother me enough, Wayne taught me a trick to basically make them match. But at the moment, I really don't mind. And now, like a normal car, she locks and unlocks, and even better so, the central locking works, which is fantastic because the boot lock is still the same. So I've got no key for that, but it does work off the central locking. So yeah, that's another job done. Something I've never done before, and it is quite petrifying. Like, I didn't want to do it at first, but believe me, it's a lot more simple. Well, it is on these anyway. A lot more simple than you think. So now, let's hope and pray that George has done her research correctly, because these are nice shiny new bolts that we've got to tuck in right down there. Speaking of Georgia, you may have noticed the Celica in the background is not looking like a Celica at the moment. We have technically started the engine swap, so we are obviously doing a video on that as well. But really exciting point with that. It's just a lot of work, obviously, but we are more excited about this, so let's dive in. Before installing the new water pump, it's good practice to clean the area so nothing obstructs the seal. Although the water pump has a seal, I'm putting some Victor Reigns Reinser, or however you pronounce it, around the seal for reassurance. Now for the moment of truth. Were the bolts correct? Yes, they were. Well done, Georgia. As you can see, fitting them required me to get very close and personal to the engine, but after some struggling, it was installed. Then onto the water pump pulley, which again is a pain because when you try to tighten the bolts, the pulley just spins. You need to get creative. Once that was installed, it was time for the tensioner. Very simple installation on this, literally one bolt holding it on. Next up was the belt. I did compare this to the old one, so we should be good to go. Once the belt is installed, you simply remove the pin holding the tensioner and voila. So all the auxiliaries are back on. What I'm going to do now, before I top the coolant up, is do the part I've been dreading most. Not because of the difficulty, but because if it doesn't work, then we got a major, major job ahead of us. I've mentioned the heater coolant hoses thingies were disconnected, so what I'm going to do now is cut the cable tie, disconnect them from this funky pipe here, connect them to the heater matrix just behind, and just please, please keep your fingers crossed, because what we're going to do is connect the hoses, start it up, and see if it's leaking. By the look of it, these hoses have been looped for a while, which is making me a bit nervous. But with a lot of fan dangling, I managed to get both hoses removed from this pipe, then onto the heater matrix itself. I then topped up the coolant ready for startup. Next issue on the list, coolant all sorted, but on the last video I noticed only when warm, so I'm guessing when the oil's thinner, on idle and only on idle, the oil warning light comes on, and you literally touch the throttle, and the warning light goes away. So I'm hoping and praying that that's just where the oil's been sat for so long. It's gone obviously a lot thinner than it should be. So we're going to put some 540 oil in there now, and then hope to God that that fixes that issue. I have ordered a new oil pressure switch, just in case it is a switch issue, but it only seems to be happening when it's warm. So I don't want to go burping the coolant, leaving it at idle for a long time with that light on. So again, let's drop the oil and keep your fingers crossed for me, please. Right, let's try not to make too much of a mess. After removing the sun plug, the oil did not look great, which is actually a good sign. Of course, I replaced the sun plug washer, then removed the oil filter housing to reveal the next issue. The oil filters looked very different. Ah well, we've come this far, let's fit it anyway and see if it works. Oil drained, I put the sun plug back in, topped up the oil, and crossed my fingers. As I mentioned in the previous video, the Fox doesn't have a coolant temperature gauge, so I bought this funky OBD2 gauge that displays information that the ECU is seeing, one of them being coolant temperature. It simply plugs into your OBD2 port or onboard diagnostic port and comes straight into life. The only issue is, yeah, it's crap. It wouldn't work and it just wouldn't connect to the car. I did try it on another car too with no joy. Ah well, back to living life on the edge then. Amazingly, the car started and idled with no issues. Okay, well she's running. It's going to be hard to tell if there's any minor leaks, but my main concern, like I said, is the heater matrix. So we'll have a look inside, because obviously it's going to leak from the inside. By the way, check out my new fashionable LED light that George's parents actually bought me for Christmas, and they're amazing. Highly recommend them. At this point, there's a lot of waiting around for the car to get up to temperature and burp the coolant, but still no warning signs on the dash. Right, so what I've noticed, the left-hand hose is hot. So that's obviously the inlet, and the outlet is freezing cold, which sort of indicates the matrix might be blocked. I should have checked this beforehand, but ideally you need a hose pipe. Luckily Scott has got one up there, so I think what I might do is kick it out, disconnect those hoses, and then see if we can get a hose pipe running through it and see if it is blocked. So, just as I was about to pull it off the axle stands, it must have had a big burp, coolant dropped. And amazingly, we've got heat. Come on, yes. She is a beaut. Do you know what? That was the main thing I wanted to do before I start driving it. So, sucks that little crappy computer thing doesn't work because we can't keep an eye on the temperature. But I'll see if I can find a better one to link up. But also, I've got the backup now. If it starts heating up, we can put the heaters on. And amazingly, it's obviously up to temperature now. It's idling. Ignore the flickering. And no oil warning light. This is why you should always keep up with regular maintenance. And don't buy a car that's been sat on a farm for 2 years, granted, but actually no, I would say do it, because this has been an emotional roller coaster, but I am loving it. I ended up taking it for its MOT a few days later, and she passed. Yes, she is now road legal, guys and girls. Stay tuned, because next time we're giving her the first wash in 2 years. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We will see you in the next one. And there was no boom.